Hey y'all, man, you guys have been blowing up my Discord DMs, my X DMs, putting putting comments on my old videos on my channel. You guys really want some Ashes of Creation content from me, and I will say I'm not quite there yet. I don't think it's quite time to just be going crazy with the Ashes of Creation content, but I promise you guys, this is a promise from me to you. It is coming very soon. Probably about the time they announce an actual date for Alpha 2, I will go into crazy everyday videos like we were doing back before Alpha 1, to the point that you guys will be like, Zillin, please, please stop making content every day. So it is coming. But I was watching some of the other Ashes content creators the other day, and I got the idea for this video, and you guys have been really wanting a video from me. So here you go. Here is the Ashes of Creation secret weapon that's going to push this game over the top of all the other MMOs that are out there or currently in development. So to explain this properly, I'm going to tell a little bit of a story from back in 2005. I believe it was 2005. I know that World of Warcraft had already come out, but it hadn't been out for a long time. There was an MMO that I had been following called Wish, and I'd signed up to be a beta tester for it, and I got into the closed beta testing for this game that was assumedly months away from launch. Like, it was a functioning game. I played the game. The camera view was like behind the character, kind of like World of Warcraft or pretty much all your modern MMOs, but it was point and click. You actually had to click on the ground and your character would walk over to that place. And because World of Warcraft had already come out and we had WASD movement in World of Warcraft, this point and click felt ancient. Ancient by design, even though that was pretty common just a year and a half before that, or 2 years before that. That was fairly common. So it just felt ancient, and I think that's part of the reason why the game just, didn't make it and was canceled in beta and never existed. However, I had a crazy experience, an experience that's nothing like anything I've ever experienced in another MMO. So I want to tell you guys about it so that you can kind of understand this thing that Ashes of Creation is doing that's going to just blow everybody's minds. People who have like modern MMO audiences don't understand this at all. They've never experienced it. So I was walking through the town that you start in, and I noticed that the mayor of the town, which was an NPC, was standing outside of like the mayor's office or the central government office or whatever. And I went over to go talk to him because back then, like, he didn't have a exclamation point over his head telling me, hey, I have a quest. You went around and talked to the different people, and the more important they were, the more likely they were to have a quest. So I go talk to this mayor, and he starts to tell me about how this person told him that he got word through a goblin camp or orcs or trolls. I don't remember what the enemy was, but he'd gotten like battle plans from them, from killing them, so that they were going to attack a neighboring town at this specific day, and it was like the next day, and that he tasked me with going and warning that town that this attack was going to happen. The name of the person who gave him that information appeared to me to be a player. It didn't look like a in-world name. It looked like kind of like a name you'd come up with if you were doing an MMO. So I think another player got the battle plans, took it to this mayor. The mayor gives me the quest, and I'd been playing World of Warcraft for like a year, 6 months or whatever, for a while. And so quests to me were just like, add it to the pile. Like, who cares? I'll get to it when I get to it. And so I went about the day like hitting some rocks and trying to mine some armor or whatever, whatever nonsense I was doing. And then I logged out and went on about my day or whatever. I was just testing this game anyways. And the next day I go to log in, and I'm walking through the town, and they have a town crier. It's like a little boy with a newspaper hat kind of thing. And he's actually yelling, talking about, buy your newspaper and read about this town nearby that got ransacked by orcs or goblins or whatever. And I'm like, oh, what the heck? And so I go over there and I give him my coppers or whatever and get the newspaper and I read. And this attack actually happened in game. Now, I don't know if there was if it just changed instantly or if there was actually goblins that came into the town and overran it. I don't know that part of it, but I know that the town was effectively destroyed, and there was, you couldn't use the quest people there and all that stuff. And my name was in the newspaper as the person who failed to deliver the message to them. And I mean, that blew my mind. That's not something the computer was doing in the background. That's like being live managed by someone, right? especially in 2005. Someone had to type out that newspaper article. Another thing that's a similar story from like 2001, 2002, something like that in Ultima Online. A buddy of mine that I still game with today, and I actually met him in middle school, so I've known him a really long time. He was playing Ultima Online, and there's a town called Cove in Ultima Online. It's kind of a small town. It's kind of out of the way, and doesn't have a whole bunch of relevant stuff in it. But certain people base themselves out of Cove, and it did have some things in it, right? It was not like it's completely unimportant. And they actually had a invasion in Cove, thousands upon thousands upon thousands of beholders. You know, the giant floating single eyeball guys. Now, beholders in Ultima Online weren't like unkillable. If you were a new player that didn't have any skills or any gear, yeah, they'd be hard to kill. But for the most part, if you've been playing the game for a couple of months, you can take out beholders no problem. But there was thousands of them, and they were reproducing at a certain rate. It wasn't super fast, but they were reproducing. And so my buddy actually organized an offensive that lasted, I want to say, like 3 weeks, where he had people scheduled to be at Cove in different hunting groups or killing groups or whatever, killing the beholders nonstop 24/7 for 3 weeks. And he had to make sure that his killing rate was faster than the reproduction rate. And he managed to push the beholders all the way out of Cove and then wipe out the beholders entirely. And I want to say there was some type of something he had to kill that was like causing all this to happen or whatever. And for doing that, for leading that offensive, for taking charge on that, they gave him a sword in the game that did not exist in any way anywhere else. It wasn't on other servers. No other player had it. That was it. It was one of one. It was a wholly unique weapon that only he ever had in the history of Ultima Online for organizing that offensive. And the reason that type of thing could happen is because back then, Ultima Online had live, active GMs. They had a person or multiple people assigned to every single server whose job it was to create dynamic, fun content and events for the players so that every single day you logged in, it wasn't stale. Now, you have to keep in mind, with a game like Ashes of Creation, they are building the systems of this game to already accomplish that to some degree. The node system, changing what content is or isn't available at any given time. New world bosses are going to spawn based on the levels of nodes. What crafting locations are available at one city or another is going to change. You have the caravan system, which isn't entirely unique because there are other caravan type systems in other MMOs, but there's not a one-to-one comparison to Ash's caravan system. Also going to be creating dynamic content. You got the 64 classes with all of the augments, which is going to be creating crazy, just unbelievable amount of build diversity, where every tank you come across, every fighter you come across, every bard you come across is not going to be spec'd exactly the same. It's going to be different in many times. There's going to be a meta, but there's going to be lots of variations on the meta simply because of the number of choices that we're going to have. And then you add in that Ashes of Creation is adding live active GMs for the first time in an MMO that I can think of since early days of World of Warcraft. I know they existed in the early days of World of Warcraft, but in a game like Ashes of Creation, especially with the tools that they seem to be building for this, that they've talked about, I think active GMs is going to be a big deal. And it's going to change the way people view MMOs, because the game is going to be dynamic and changing every day. It's not going to be the same crap. You're not going to know that on Tuesday I log in, I raid with my raid team, we raid till 10, and then I PvP for an hour and I log out. And then on Wednesday, my raid team is not active, so I PvP and I make sure to get my dailies and weeklies done so that that's done, because on Thursday my raid team goes again. Ain't going to be none of that. On Tuesday, you might log in with your raid team, but a GM caused a volcano to explode and it destroyed half a city, and now you got to spend hours mining rocks and hitting trees to rebuild the city. I don't know. I mean, I'm just speculating. But it's going to be different. There's going to be new things happening all the time, and active GMs is something that just doesn't exist, and it's coming back, and it's going to make Ashes of Creation the most dynamic MMO any of you have ever played.